Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Picks and Sticks podcast, a fun music podcast where four great friends talk about the music, bands, and songs that they love. I'm Mauro.
I'm Gordo.
I'm Cecil.
And I'm Huff.
And this is Picks and Sticks. On today's episode of the podcast, we bring you 10 great songs from the band Nirvana. Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, good.
Good, man. You?
F&A.
It's good.
I'm ready to get going, guys. I've labored over this long enough. This was way harder than I thought. Huff, and why don't you lay out how we came to be here today?
Yeah, sure. So, as Mauro said, it's it's not a top 10 list per se, but it's a there's four of us here. We each selected 20 songs that we enjoy in this particular period of time. So 2020. Had we done the list in 1993 when In Utero was released, the list would probably be a lot different. So you got to remember it's at this particular period of time. So we really revisited the catalog, and like I said, we each picked 20 songs. Then we applied an algorithm to those songs, and it spit out a list of 10 songs that were essentially the most popular amongst the four of us. That
algorithm, that's patented, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah,
okay,
it's high tech. High tech. Good. It's like the caramel secret. It's under lock and key.
Nice.
I guess we're going to go into the 10 songs, but we're generally, and that's the way that we'll do things. But today we're giving you a bonus track, I guess, in a sense that we want to talk about the 11th song that just kind of fell outside of the most popular 10, and that's because that particular song Smells Like Teen Spirit. So, it seems odd to do a Nirvana podcast and talk about great songs without talking about that particular song. I would say to the listeners that the reason it probably ranked where it was is just due to pure fatigue, and not that it's not a great song. There were just others that, again, in 2020 that we're listening to more now that we revisited that catalog. But, I'll give a little bit of experience for myself in terms of Teen Spirit. Obviously, the first major hit from Nirvana, and really changed the course of music history. So I think it needs to be recognized as such. When it was released, man, did I love that song, and I listened to it a ton. That whole album was amazing. So I'll just kind of leave it at that a little bit, that I don't want it to sound like we don't like, or I don't like the song. I'll let you guys speak to it, but I love the song. I've just heard it so much that it's, when I did my picks, there were others now that I've gone back and listened to everything that I selected. So maybe I'll throw it to you, Gord, because I know you've got some thoughts as well.
Oh, I got thoughts, buddy. I want to recount, first of all. You're absolutely right. I was personally surprised that it came in at number 11, and I think it speaks to a bit of overplay, like you mentioned, Huff. But I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm the only one that had it ranked kind of high in the top 10. I had it number 3 myself. And everyone else had a little lower on the list, hence the overall 11th placement. You guys just had that many songs placed ahead of it. I'd like to hear your thoughts. What do you say, Cease?
I say it would have been a good idea to have the list ready when we started this. Right? So I can't even find it. Smells Like Teen Spirit. That goes in a group of songs, like Stairway to Heaven. It's a great song that you just don't want to listen to anymore because you heard it so much in your lifetime. You can't even get like a real honest opinion on it anymore. It's because you heard it so much. I remember like at the high school dance here for the first time, and I don't know if it was the first time, but first time I heard the term moshing. It was slam dancing when I was growing up, right? But yeah, that was the first time I heard the mosh, and I loved it. But then pew goes downhill fast after you hear it on the radio every single day. So like You Shook Me All Night Long is similar to that. I hear it so much, I just don't like great songs I can't really listen to anymore.
Yeah. Maybe that should be an episode down the road. We should do a list of our 20 great songs that we just can't listen to anymore.
You should call it songs that are on the stairway to heaven, because stairway to heaven is that, right? Songs so go to die.
Yeah. Okay. So,
but it was never my favorite song. Like, honestly, it wasn't.
When it was released, it wasn't. It was.
I really liked the song, but when I heard the album, there was other songs I liked better.
Really? Huh.
There was, and I just...
That's interesting.
So it actually sits on my list lower down out of my top 20, but it's 20 songs by such an awesome band, and whether it's sitting at 5th or 15th, all the songs are really good. So have I listened to it too much? Yeah, I hear it too much on the radio. It's probably number 1 on Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, Google Music, Spotify. I'm sure it's number 1 on all those song playlists. But I think does it sound a little funny that it's not in the top 10? Well, it's not. It's not a popularity contest, right? We talked about that.
Yeah, and it's not a best of. We're not talking songwriting and composition and all this stuff. I mean,
and you're totally right. It changed music forever. We were talking about it on the Metallica podcast, how Metallica, and Justice for All and Master of Puppets sort of changed thrash music. Well, these guys went and changed music substantially in the early 90s, because if you remember listening to the radio in 1990, it was all pop and like R&B. There was nothing to listen to. Yeah. It was ridiculous. And when that song came out, everyone was like, holy shit, that's unbelievable. And it was. Should it be sitting at number 1? I don't think so. But that's my opinion, and that's sort of where I stand on it.
It sounds like you just gave one of the greatest rock songs ever a participation badge. So that's okay. I understand the list now. You brought a little clarity to your list. That's good. I like that.
Well, I think, again, if we had a time machine and you could go back, and I get that, the album itself, back then for the younger listeners, we used to listen to full albums, right? You'd go and buy the cassette or the CD and you'd put it in, your player and you'd pretty much listen to the whole thing. And that's the way that we listen to music. And there were a lot of great songs, but you still got to remember that, the single, Smells Like Teen Spirit, came out first. It had, music videos back then were big. And that video, again, it was different than anything we had ever seen before. It was a different attitude. It was a whole different vibe to it. Effectively what we learned down the road is that this movement that Nirvana was lucky enough to kind of start, because they were first ones out into the real world and gaining popularity. They effectively killed metal music for a period of time. And we'll talk about that in different podcasts when we do things. But, that's when things got kind of mellow. It seemed like hard rock and metal lost their way. And it was all what they, what we lovingly call grunge, I guess.
Rock and roll got
and all
a
the
lot
bands.
More serious too.
Yeah.
It was more like fun, like David Lee Roth with a half smile,
Yeah.
To sing about your pain.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I think that unless anyone wants to, add anything else to Teen Spirit, I think the four of us would recognize that it is a great song. If I was creating a list of songs to put on my iPhone to drive to or whatever, I'm not sure that would be on it. And that's kind of the difficulty in creating some of these lists. But do we want to? Go ahead.
The one thing I was thinking about was when that same song came out, they had Bleach released for I think a year or two before that even came out, and that album really gets no love other than About a Girl. And I just want to mention that we didn't include the Unplugged. I think the Unplugged is an amazing album, start to finish actually. But in this, we sort of just covered their major releases that weren't unplugged or live or anything like that.
Yeah, there's some great live recordings too. Yeah,
it was interesting because Bleach doesn't get a lot of love, and I actually think it was probably when Dave Grohl joined the band that maybe they changed a bit. But it was interesting that at that time, they were sort of a mix of punk and this heavy rock. And one of the guys that was playing drums with them back in the day was the Melvins drummer. And I didn't know that. I just
didn't know
read that
that.
today. Yeah, it was really cool. He was the drummer before the Bleach drummer, I think. Yeah.
No shit. Well, see, and it's
And,
funny. Sorry, I need to cut you off because I've got a couple of notes, and this is a song that is on my list. It's a song off of Bleach called "Paper Cuts," and I've got some notes. Like when I listen to that song, it's got a bit of a Melvins feel to it. I just had that written down, not knowing that they, the drummer was involved with the band at some point. But that particular song, if you listen to that, it's around the Bleach time. So for anybody listening out there that is looking for maybe some deeper cuts or anything like that, listen to Paper Cuts, and then also think of the exact same song. There's, especially at the first change, going into the chorus and stuff like that, picture Lane Staley singing that. And it's so incredible that, and it's why it's one of my favorite songs. It really does have that Seattle feel, and you can, looking back 2020 vision, you can feel that Seattle influence, from the different bands that were obviously playing the small clubs around there. Sorry to derail you there.
Yeah, I know. It's so like I said, it was that early stuff was influenced by the Melvins, was influenced by Mudhoney. It's got a bit of Sabbath in there. It's got some metal, and my favorite Nirvana songs are more the punk rock and the heavier stuff. But that's just.
Now, once I got through listening to everything, I just keep playing. The last 2 days, I've been playing Bleach over and over. I can't get enough of it. I think it's best start to finish overall.
It's really good.
It's like a balance of all good songs.
The challenge with it is, of course, nobody had really heard of it. And you mentioned About a Girl, but About a Girl didn't get popular until Unplugged. It wasn't like About a Girl was, on the MTV or Much Music and stuff like that, right? So
Totally.
So and this is what's funny about this band is, they released Nevermind, which sold a bazillion copies. It was hugely successful, very popular. A lot of pop songs on it, very catchy, a lot of great hooks, great riffs, all of that. When you go back to Bleach, and if you're expecting Nevermind, you're not going to get it. And and when you go, forward, I guess Incesticide was next. But even with In Utero, if you're expecting Nevermind Part 2, you're not going to get that. So I'll say this to the listeners, whether you're, of our vintage of, if you lived through this musical, historical path of new music, or if you're, younger and kind of brand new to it, listen to it all. And I found now that I'm appreciating the band a lot more than I did. I think because I was expecting a lot of Nevermind songs.
Well, I think maybe I'm the only guy, then I'm going to be that guy. I was into Nirvana before Nevermind. I hate to be that guy, but
hey?
I'm that guy. My friends made
Of course you were.
There's one in every crowd.
Hey, how was that Westward show? There's about 100,000 people there.
You know what? I have a saddest story to tell you about that, but I had a couple buddies get me into Bleach about 3 or 4 months before Nevermind came out, so I had an opportunity to hear them before they got like all their radio fame, and I don't know, there was a lot of nuggets of brilliance in there that I just really loved that album on its own. So I was waiting for Nevermind, and then that just blew me away a lot because they changed drummers to Dave Grohl, who just was a huge improvement. But it was tighter writing. They'd really evolved. And the production, I think they recorded Bleach in a day. And, it's raw and it sounds great for what it is, but Nevermind's a little more polished. So
didn't Bleach cost $600?
Yeah, it was like $600-700, right?
Don't quote me on it, but I think Nevermind was actually remixed by somebody else.
It was
before that album came to market.
That's
I think
right.
It was mixed twice.
They struggled with the mix, so they had a couple different mixes they were going over. But my point was going to be that when they got to In Utero, it instantly reminded me of Bleach. They wanted to go back to that raw sound, and as much as they liked or were proud of Nevermind, they found that they got away from a bit of their edgy punk sound, so they wanted to make sure In Utero was almost like a Rush recording and a little bit more raw. And I think those Bleach and In Utero compare a lot better, and Nevermind's kind of the outlier, which is weird because that's probably their biggest album.
Yeah. Yeah, it's again, and that's what makes this band is, for someone who had never heard them before, right? And if you played, let's say one song off of every album, and they wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that it's the same band, right? It's not, it doesn't have the formula, right? There's the AC/DC formula, or some of the popular bands. There's a formula, and a lot of them are kind of like that. This band is so unique and I don't even eccentric. I'm not even sure what the word is, but and I think this is a good way to segue into some of the songs that have been compiled into the 10 of our favorite songs right now. And when you look at the songs and when you think about those songs, they are so different in so many ways.
Absolutely.
And again, this was a lot of fun for me to go back and listen to a band that I haven't listened to in so many years, and I feel guilty that I underappreciated them at the time.
And to answer your question, Carlin, I was supposed to go to that one and only show they played here. My buddies had a ticket, and at the last minute, I pulled the pin for a girl. Oh, it was all about a girl, man.
It's all about a girl.
And I think we broke up like a week later, too. It's just a sad story. I don't like talking about it. Let's move into the list. That was awful.
I skipped Infest to go to Roadside Attraction. Same reason, bad move. Missed the Ramones. Then I ran into them at 7-Eleven.
Oh, it's destined.
It was like Goodwill Hunting. Had to go see about a girl. And he missed that Red Sox game. Right, misses the Ramones, and you miss Nirvana playing before Nevermind was released. Good call, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let's start it up, boys.
Yeah. Do we want to talk? And we don't. Yeah. I don't really want to get into big, long dissertations about certain songs, but a song that. Okay, so Very Ape is a song off of In Utero. 3 of the 4 of us had it on the list. Cecil was the only one. And when I put it on my list, I thought I was going to be the only one. So I was very surprised that song, connected with 75% of us. I'm just going to pick Gord for the hell of it.
All right.
What do you like about the song?
I don't have any special moments or anything, good stories related to this song, other than it always just stuck out as one of my favorite songs on the album. Very catchy, very to the point. In an album that's really dark, it has songs like Rape Me, Dumb, things like that on. I thought this song was really catchy, but in a very non-Nevermind way. It was very heavy still, and it was just really good. Love it.
Yeah,
glad to see it at top 10.
More, and again, we're not talking best songs.
I had it ranked high.
Yeah, Mauro, you had it second, right?
Yeah, I had it second. I did. You know what? One of the things that I realized as I looked back and started going through the tunes, trying to pick, which ones I really liked. I really enjoyed the songs that were a little quicker, riff heavy, pretty straightforward, had some melodic vocals in it, but it's still pretty heavy. And I like that it clocks in at a minute 55.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my old age, but my attention span is horrific now, and songs over about 3.5 minutes lose me. And that song's perfect. It's a minute 55. It's old school. It's kind of punkish, reminds me of, where DRI would have the minute and a half, whole album of 1.5 minute songs. And I really like the whole song, the way it's put together, the lyrics, the way the guitars are played, the drumming's phenomenal. And it's just kind of that quick adrenaline hit. And that's why I had it so high. I just love it.
Yeah. It was one of those songs, again, apologies to the Nirvana band. because I just didn't appreciate it at the time. And as I listened to it, and I thought, oh God, here I go. I'm going to put this song on here that isn't going to come anywhere near anyone else's list. And it turned out that it really stands the test of time. We're going to go into Bleach, which ranked right in there with or the song Negative Creep, which from the point system kind of was tied with Very Ape. And I know, Cecil, you're listening to a lot of Bleach. Negative Creep for me, I mean, that was, at the time, I didn't care for the album a whole lot. I think there are 2 or 3 songs on there. Negative Creep was my favorite song off of that album. I don't know, Cecil, you've got it in your top 10. So what do you like about that song?
Well, that was the one that stood out back in the day, was like the most popular one, at least around my circle. I remember, computer's freezing up. Might have to take a break.
Cecil's cratered.
He froze.
He's frozen. He's frozen in time. He's like Han Solo.
I'll take the Negative Creep if you want to throw it to me.
I need TV from my bunghole.
I tell you what, though, 3 of us have daughters. 3 of us have daughters, and that one line, "Daddy's little girl ain't a girl no more." That's kind of got a little bit different meaning now that I'm an adult than it did back then.
So yeah, so when we talk about Negative Creep,
it's a heavy song.
It is,
which is funny because when I looked at the whole list of songs we had, we ended up with some of their heavier stuff. And Negative Creep to me is one of the heavier songs on Bleach.
Yeah,
definitely.
Kind of, it's more of a plodding tune,
Yep.
A really heavy riff.
Yeah, this is a band, and I know with other bands you're going to kind of see the lighter side of those bands. For whatever reason, with Nirvana, I just was never a fan of their kind of lighter or slower type songs. And I mean, I did like Unplugged when it came out for a little bit, but All Apologies, About a Girl, some of that stuff isn't my thing, which is why, some of the listeners that are going through this list are going to say, how do you not have All Apologies and About a Girl in some of those songs? That's really why. You'll see a different side of me when we start talking about Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and bands like that. But Negative Creep is it's a really heavy punk, dirty kind of grungy sound, right? Like, and forgive me for using the word grunge to describe it, but I guess that's how they came up with the genre, right?
I was the odd man out on that song, actually.
You were, which surprised me because
I had no room, and I love Mr. Mustache.
Yep.
And what's the other one? School.
Yeah.
And I had those ranked ahead, so it just didn't fit on the list. It's not that I don't like the song; it's just I like those other 2 songs better.
Yeah.
I think that just rings a little too true for you more. Like that could be your theme song, buddy.
What's that?
Negative Creep.
Yours can be just Creep.
We'll get to Radiohead someday or soon, man.
Yeah, right. So, we'll transition that into a similar song off of Nevermind, which is Territorial Pissings, which outside of Gordo, the other, again, 75% of us had it on the list. And I don't know, how would you describe that one, Mauro?
I'd have to say, actually, back in the day, I didn't listen to it a heck of a lot, but I liked it. But there's stuff I liked more, but I think it's a great song. The more that and going back and listening to it again, I mean, it's a punk tune.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's a punk song, and it's again, it's straight ahead and balls to the walls. Like it's not a very long song either. I think it's only 2 minutes and 20 seconds or something.
Yeah, it's quick. Yeah, it's fairly quick. I don't have it in front of me.
The fact that
why don't you like it, Gordo? What's your problem?
To be quite honest, the fact that I don't have it on my list was an error. It wouldn't be in my top 10, but should have definitely made my top 20. I really like that song. I don't know if it would have bumped it up any had I rated it, but it that's the one song that really starts off. It's one of the few songs off of that album. It starts off really loud. They tend to do the quiet, loud, quiet, loud. This
Yeah.
one starts off like a sonic assault. You're just like, and to date ourselves a little more, I believe it also starts off side B on the cassette. It sounds like a whole new set, and it's just the best way to start that whole side. Is just that song is a fantastic way to get going.
That's outstanding. I never had the cassette. That's great that we can still talk about, side A and side B, and I used to love doing that, having the argument, Back in Black, side B is better than side A.
Because if I'm not mistaken, side A ends with Polly, and Polly is a very dark and sad song. Or is it Something in the Way? It's one of those two. My apologies. I forget. But when you flip the side and you hit play on that, it's pretty incredible start.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go, move on to the next one, and I'm moving on because I'm the only one that didn't have this song on the list, and it's from In Utero, a song called Milk It. I've listened to it a few times since we compiled the list, and I'll be honest, it still wouldn't make my 20.
You played drums. How can you not like that song? How can it not be an anthem for you?
I don't know if I have a good answer for you. Maybe I'm just stupid, and that's always in the mix. I can't explain it. I like the components are there. I get that in theory I should really like that song.
It's got all the components of a Huffman song. It's got great drums. It's bone crushing, and it's clever. Like it's a lyrically clever song. It could be about nothing for all I know, but I'm so shocked that of all the guys here, that one didn't make your list.
Yeah, and I do have some regrets with the list, as you always can, day to day. If I made this list again next week, it would be different. I'm not so sure that I would change my mind on that, but if you guys want to, other than what you've already said about it.
Well, it's a really good song. If you, it's funny, the guitar solo in that song, or what's supposed to be a guitar solo, is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. It's like he had it in his lap and he was playing it with his teeth. It's just like I've never heard it. It's funny because a lot of what I found is Kurt Cobain didn't really care if he sang in tune.
Nope.
Like a lot of songs are like, is he even singing in tune?
Yeah, no, he's not.
And they're good songs.
That's why he's Neil.
And the guitar solos
Young.
guitar solos are crazy. Some of them, they're just
It's a lot of feedback,
noise.
Yep.
This one, he's just like picking at it, and I'm like, did they just leave that in there just because, or did he mean to do that? Anyway, it fits the song, but it's pretty funny.
I think that's part of his brilliance is sometimes I think it's well crafted, like, wow, he really meant to have that in there. And other times I literally think there was just no fucks given whatsoever. And he's like, nah, we're just going to go with that. And it keeps you guessing. And I think that's part of the brilliance.
Yeah. And you wonder, so, clearly he gets a lot of credit as being a great songwriter, right? The lyrics on the vast majority of the songs are either very brilliant or so cryptic you just have to say it's brilliant because you don't understand it. But I don't think there's a lot of people that consider him to be one of the great songwriters, right? So maybe you can take some liberties with some other components of the song, right?
Yeah. What do we got next, Huff?
Lithium.
Oh.
A song so good they named a channel after it, so that's got to count for something.
Shit, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in. I think this is one of the first songs we've got to with the classic Cobain chorus where he just uses one word, right? Like he just sings the one word. He just goes, yeah, and it just works. Like he doesn't need to put lyrics in there. He says the rest in the verse. He gets to the chorus and it's just... he says yeah with such passion and feeling that you're singing along with him. You don't even know what the hell's going on. It's just a really catchy, great song.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Mauro?
Yeah, I dropped the ball. in that I really like that song, and it should have been higher on my list, but so I'm glad it made our final 10
Yeah.
because it's a really good song.
Yeah, again, you were the only one that didn't have it. I will mention that for those listening wondering what happened to Cecil, he's had some technical difficulties, so he's dropped off. He may come back.
He is a technical difficulty.
It'll happen from time to time.
He is a technical difficulty. So here's, we move on from Lithium, and here's the first song that all four of us selected, and it's a song called Heart Shaped Box from In Utero. It was, I guess, in a way, a lot like Teen Spirit in that it was the first single off of that album, and the song went crazy. I mean, it was very popular. I wouldn't say it was Teen Spirit type popularity, but it was a very popular song. But what was funny about that album was, for those that went out and bought the album based on that single, the rest of the album was, again, it was not Nevermind Part 2.
Certainly. If I'm not mistaken, this song is, I believe he wrote this about Courtney Love. Forever indebted to your priceless advice. I think that was a shot at her when they were going through a bit of a phase. Whatever the story there was, what a great song. And maybe you can speak to it as a guitar player, Mauro. Like, when I heard that being a drummer, I was just captivated by what he's doing on guitar. I'm like, is he doing this in one take? Like, he's all over his guitar on this. Like, it seemed like a really hard guitar part to play.
Yeah, I don't know if it's difficult to play. It's a really cool lick or riff, whatever you want to call it. I think a lot of the reason that song was so popular is because people were looking for something in Utero that resembled Nevermind, and that was really close. That was really close. It was kind of.
It had that patented. Gordo, you mentioned it a little while ago. Their formula, if you want to call it a formula, on some of their songs. I mean, some stuff was just complete utter chaos and noise, or really good punk stuff. But the band had a really, really good ability to do that, soft, loud, soft, or and when that chorus kicks in, it fucking kicks in.
Oh, it kicks you right in the nuts. Like, you're like, what? Like, you don't think it can get heavier. They kick back into the chorus. You're like, holy crap! Like, and you often forget at this time, not on Bleach, but on Nevermind and in Utero, they're a 3-piece.
Yeah.
Like, and when you hear their live stuff, they don't sound like a 3-piece. They often sound like they have that fourth guitar because it's so muddy and grungy, and the bass is often slightly distorted, and Grohl's just great at the bottom end of the drums as well. But I mean, to pull
And on that note,
that's crazy.
I think Chris was a way underrated bass player.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Well, he carries a lot of songs with his bass grooves. Like, I don't think I appreciated it as much as I maybe do now back then, because I was more focused on the guitar playing.
Next time you listen to Heart Shaped Box and you get to the chord, listen to the bass specifically, and it sounds like he's playing out of tune, but he's doing so intentionally, and it just works so coherently with the guitar. It gives the song a really odd vibe. He's like you said, he's very underrated as a bass player. I know he's like a 6'10" freak.
He's a giant.
He's a giant man, and he's goofy, but like, what a bass player.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a note. I meant to bring it up. And this is anecdotal. I don't have any stats behind this or anything. But again, listening to the catalog, it felt at times that the band had a lot more songs that started with either just the bass or bass and drums than average, I guess, or than, if you want to say, normal. It just seemed to me, and unfortunately, I wish Cecil was available here, but he had Love Buzz from Bleach, and he's the only one that I think had that on the list, and he had it 9th. And I wanted to ask him if that was just simply because it's got that really cool bass riff right out of the gate, right?
Yeah.
And it just kind of loops. this whole the whole thing just revolves around this bass line.
Well, if he gets that dial-up working again, we'll have to make sure to ask him. That's right.
You can get that AOL going
and the Netscape,
the CompuServe.
All right, buddy. What do we got next? I'm jacked for this next one. So
I was going to throw it to you because based on where you are in today's world, you know, You're Right is your favorite Nirvana song. Go.
I had a hard time with this song. It was number 1 all the way down to number 5. The reason I had a hard time was I had to really ask myself, I think it was either 8 or 9 years had passed from In Utero to when this song came out on that Black Nirvana Best of album.
Yeah, the compilation or whatever it was. Yeah.
And this is the last song they recorded. And it was about 2 months before he died. And so I had to really ask myself, is it just sentiment? Am I just, sad of the little taste of what we didn't get? And then I listened to it along with the rest of the songs, and I actually know, I really think this is their best song. Not by much, but I had it at number 1. It's got the quiet, loud, quiet down, just like most of their classic songs. But I think the guitar riff I think that's his best guitar riff. It is so heavy. It's so catchy. It's so good. I love at the end of the song, he goes from singing "You Know You're Right" to "You Know Your Rights," and there's a certain spin. You can read about ideas behind that on the internet, where he's actually singing to Courtney Love on that, where he's saying, like, he's basically talking about lawyering up at that point. You know you're right. So, regardless of that, I just think the song itself it's all the best things I like about Nirvana, all in one song. Crazy drums, incredible guitar. Number 1 on my list.
And I love that. I love the Kurt Cobain whiny voice when he sings, on some of the songs. Is that "No, you're right"? Like he's just, you know what I mean? Like, and so I had that song relatively high as well. Mauro, it didn't make your list, and I know it's not fair to say why don't you like the song, because you can only pick 20. But it didn't make your list. You don't need to comment if you don't want it.
I don't really have an explanation.
You're not on trial here.
It's a good song.
Yep.
It was good enough to make the number 1 on the Billboard Top 100. So it's a great song. I never I kind of gauge this song, where it would fit on a top list of mine by how much I listen to it, and I don't really listen to it a ton.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed, as far as B-sides, I liked Sappy. I thought that was a killer song, and I listened to that all the time, and that made it
we'll get to that.
on my list. But I think it's good. It's a cool riff. It's a cool tune. There's other songs I like better.
Could I just point out too, when I was doing a bit of the research on these songs, that when this song came out, I believe it was 2001, could have been 2002. There was a week where David Grohl had 3 songs in the top 10 with 3 different bands. There was this song, "All My Life" by Foo Fighters, and a Queens of the Stone Age song. We're all in the top 10. It was madness.
Was that the Queen song that he played the drums on?
That's right.
So we had the name escapes me right now.
No one know.
He played on that whole album.
Did he play? Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right. I knew that.
He had 3 top 10 hits on 3 different bands.
I know.
Yeah. Well, so here
I already knew that.
Yeah, we've got 3 songs left. All 4 of us selected these
Carlin's
3 songs.
Fucking broke my computer.
Yeah. Oh, he's tossed that
He did.
thing.
No, he sent me pictures.
Oh, he smashed it, didn't he?
There's something wrong with the cable.
Oh, the cable.
It's the last time I lent him my fucking computer.
Fuck, man.
Well, it is, because it's broken now.
He went full Cobain and smashed the shit out of that. That thing smashed out in the front on the front.
He thought it was Saturday Night Live in Nirvana and just started trashing the joint.
We've done 2 podcasts now,
and he's
been on the podcast for
16
like 6
seconds
minutes out of 3 hours.
He did the intro. He got to talk on like 2 songs, and then he's just a complete vapor trail. Haven't seen him since. So. Anyway, I was going to say that we've got 3 songs left. all four of us picked those three songs. So again, this isn't a top 10 list. So we can talk about two of the three, all of the three, or whatever. But the three songs are In Bloom from Nevermind, Aneurysm from Incesticide, and Breed from Nevermind. Three great tunes. I love them all. They're all in my normal rotation, especially now that I've rediscovered my love for the band. It's hard to comment on each and every song other than these are the Nevermind songs for sure. Very catchy, if you will. But I don't know who wants to chime in on this one. Mauro, you go first this time. If you want.
Well, Breed's my favorite song by far. That's a great song.
In fact,
I would say by far. Yeah.
It's a fantastic song.
It's killer. It's cool. It's got
great riff.
It's got a great riff. The bass player is awesome. The guitar is awesome. Just the way the song's written is great. The chorus is like it's like I want to say a rock anthem because it's not that, but it's like it's the epitome of what grunge was. It had heavy and it had punk and it had melody and it had it has all of the above. And so and I would say that about Aneurysm.
I almost had Aneurysm first. I struggled. I went back and forth with a few different cuts, but I love that album. It's funny because technically it's not really an album, right? It is a collection of B-sides. But it boggles my mind how that song doesn't make one of the albums, right? When looking back on it.
It should have made Nevermind.
Yeah,
it should have been on Nevermind.
It got cut from Nevermind, which is crazy to think if they would have included that song on that album as well. Like, how many like great songs can you have on an album? Like, it's crazy it didn't even make the cut. And here we have it at number 2.
What, did they just run out of space on this? They couldn't fit it on a CD or what?
I don't know.
Because it's as good. It's as good as half of the songs
Endless
on there.
Nameless wasn't that the last song? Was that the last song on the album? Endless Nameless,
that's
and
not
it's
even
like
a
7
song.
minutes.
It's just noise.
Yeah, So in any event, that's probably the only song that I don't listen to on that album. So.
I think interesting that song is a good like bridge between Bleach and Nevermind in terms of sound. Like it's got some Bleach heaviness to it. It's not especially poppy, but it's like a lot of their songs, not poppy but really catchy, if you understand what I'm saying. And
yeah,
I mean they just rock that ending for all it's worth. She keeps it pumping straight to my heart. Like they hit that for like a good solid minute, and you don't want it to end.
Yeah,
it's just that good.
Yep, absolutely. So,
and In Bloom is a great song too.
One of my favorite videos of all time.
Totally. Yeah. That video where they're like, it's kind of like they're pretending to be, I guess, on Ed Sullivan and kind of like in front of a Beatles audience, and it's in black and white. That is brilliant. That is such a good video. Check it out if you haven't seen it, man. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I'm sure it's on YouTube. But watch the In Bloom video. It's absolute gold, and it's that kind of video style that Dave Grohl essentially took with him to Foo Fighters. And if you really look at the vast majority, not everyone, but the vast majority of the Foo Fighters videos, particularly in the earlier years, all have that sort of comedic kind of element to it.
Good call.
So I'm going to put you guys on the spot a little bit here as we kind of wrap up, because obviously we had 20 songs each. We've talked about the ones that that were kind of kicked out as the ones that we had most commonalities with. I guess I'll say to the listeners, I think I may have said it already, but if you used to be a Nirvana fan, or if you're just now maybe, hopefully maybe getting into it, and you may be screaming at your iPhone or Samsung or whatever you're listening to us on, maybe screaming at us saying, how do you not have this song or this song? And I encourage you, get a couple buddies, 3 buddies together, make your own list and see how difficult it is and see what you come up with. and even put in the comments maybe some of the songs that you would have included, things like that. So let's talk quickly about maybe one or two deep cuts. We don't need to
Okay.
make this too in depth, but I will say from Mauro and Cecil's list, Mr. Mustache from Bleach was a song that I never really cared for or listened to very much. Once I listened to it, I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to get greedy here and selfish. Two songs on my own list that I'd love people to check out in terms of songs that might not be all that popular. One being Aero Zeppelin, which is on the Incesticide album, and Big Long Now, which is also on the Incesticide album. What's funny about Big Long Now is there aren't a lot of different recordings of it out there. When I was doing the research on it, that was it was supposed to, or they were recording it during the Bleach sessions. They did it on one take.
Nice.
And there's apparently a live recording of them playing it at Chris's mom's house or something. And that's there's no outtakes. There's not a lot of footage of this song. But it's one of my favorite songs. I had it ranked pretty high. So anyway,
That's a good one.
Gord, but again, putting you on the spot.
No, that's fine. One that I had ranked really high, and I think I was the only one. I had it at number 4. Was Something in the Way, and I know you'd mentioned that you didn't have a lot of the lighter Nirvana stuff on your list, and the three of you are pretty consistent in that, and we can all agree on some of their better heavy stuff. But this song, I saw the documentary on how they made Nevermind, and it is really fascinating if you're into that recording process stuff. But he's laying on
the Butch Vig one, right?
That's right. He's laying on his back on a couch with an out of tune, like $50 broken acoustic, and he's whispering, like you can barely hear him singing. And that song still makes my hair on my arms stand up. Like it's creepy and eerie and atmospheric, and it's also, I think, this is a fantastic song. I don't know if they ever played this live much, if ever. I've never heard a live record. It would be almost impossible to think they did, but it's one of those songs that it's tucked away on their favorite album amongst all these pop monster hits, and I think it's a hidden gem for myself.
I'll quickly defend myself if I can. It is one of my favorite songs as well, or it was traditionally. Like I do love that song, but again, when I built my list, it was sort of, what do I want to listen to, as I'm walking the dog or driving or doing whatever. It's a hell of a song. It's a beautiful song. It's a lot of things, but I do enjoy the song.
Well, any song that's got a cello, man, you got to be in the right mood, buddy. You can't just be like, you can't just have the T-tops off on the IROC and just slap in Something in the Way. Like you got to be in the right mood for that, for sure.
Yeah. So Mauro, I'm going to choose one for you because I want you to speak to this. Well, because I want you to speak to this anyway, because you had this song ranked very, very high as one of your favorite songs right now, and then I'll let you either select a different one from your list or from anyone else's list. But talk to me about Tourettes off In Utero. You're the only one that had it on the list. I listened to it. It is one of those really sort of messy, feedbacky,
messy.
and actually, when I want to say this too, that the lyrics. So Tourettes, we obviously know what the Tourettes is, but the lyrics originally for that song were 3 words: fuck, shit, and piss. Those were the lyrics originally. Wow. So in any event,
I don't know that I like it for the lyrics because you can
I'm not so sure I know what the lyrics are, but anyway, if you want to talk to that and then maybe pick one more.
This is why I'm a little bit quirky. It's heavy. I just like it. I mean, it's not for all people. I wouldn't even sit here and recommend it to people that don't like thrash or like hardcore punk, because that's basically what it is.
Maybe that's a good recommendation.
Which is, it is.
The guys that are out there that really like the real heavy.
You don't expect it out of a band like that, really.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a misfit. And as much as they do have some weird stuff, that song's heavy and it's fast. It's really, I just love it. It's cool.
Yeah.
And it's only like a minute and a half.
Well, it
I
could
think,
only
or
be a
something like
minute and
that.
a half.
Minute and 20.
It's too much after that.
Which is funny because I do want to say one thing, and this is what I say when I'm quirky, is like one of the songs I want to mention is Lake of Fire from Unplugged, because we didn't really talk about Unplugged, and that's one of my favorite songs as well.
I'm not sure that counts. It's a cover song. It's a Meat Puppets song, isn't it?
It is, and the Meat Puppets version's really good too, but it's still a good song, and nobody would know about it if it wasn't for them doing it on Unplugged. So
that's totally true.
Yep, true.
The funny thing about Tourette's, we were talking about like listening to cassettes or albums all the way through earlier, is Tourette's is right before All Apologies, which we haven't talked about, which I find another really great mellow song and takes on a lot of different meanings and context in light of his suicide not long after. But it's funny that Tourette's is right before, because it's like it is such a different song, and then also it just drops down into the string arrangement of All Apologies. It's very confusing the first listen through.
it's bizarre. I can't imagine how many times the skip button has been hit when that song comes on.
Totally.
And you're right, they put like
Yeah.
a really accessible, like, top, probably it probably charted pretty high on the charts. All Apologies did, and it's after that hot mess. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
the first
Yeah,
time you
you better-
listen to it, you had to listen to the song, and some people were probably like, what is this?
Yep.
What the fuck is this? Is this a mistake? And
Yeah.
then the next song is like radio play. So I don't know. Part of the whole thing is every album's kind of a journey, right? Nevermind's a little more straightforward.
It's a
And
pop
that's
record,
probably-
sort of.
Yeah,
to
that's
say
probably
that.
why it's so popular, and is because it was a little more straightforward. But the band released more material like Bleach and In Utero than they did Nevermind. Nevermind's almost the anomaly in a way.
I thought creating this list, quite frankly, was going to be a piece of cake, because going back to when this music came out, and it was, it was Nevermind was again big in my rotation, but then the other bands started to come out, and Nirvana was, I wouldn't say was ever my favorite band. I kind of moved on to some other, Seattle bands or alternative / grunge type bands. So in my mind, I was thinking, I could probably do the 20 off the top of my head. But obviously when we go through this process, we listen to each and every song.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I, discovered or rediscovered, like Aero Zeppelin was a song that I used to love and I forgot all about it. I haven't listened to that song. Incesticide came out in 92. I bet you I haven't listened to that song probably since 1998.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot all about it. So again,
I found it harder to pick my favorite songs for this band than I did for Metallica, for sure. Which is weird because Metallica's got about 1 million songs.
If there was a gun to my head, I would probably say this is my favorite band, by a very slim margin. And I thought this exercise was going to be easy. And at one point, I had 12 songs tied for number 4, and I was screwed. I was like, where do I go from here? Like, I've never had to think about which songs I like better and put them in an order. I just loved them all. I thought this was really hard. I had a lot of emotional highs and lows, and it took me days to tweak this list. And I'm glad I got to listen to some old songs that I haven't listened to in a long time, especially off of that album like Incesticide, like you mentioned, Huff and Bleach. Some real hidden gems on both.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm probably not in touch as much as I should be, or I don't think I am anyway. Like, is this a Gen X band? Is it being listened to by younger kids? My kids don't listen to it, but
just to give you a quick story,
my boy does.
I was trying to decide between two songs. I can't remember which, and I was driving the other day, and I had my 16-year-old daughter with me, and I'm like, you got to help me pick between these two. I'm stuck. And I started playing it. And she's like, I have this song on my playlist. And I think it was actually, I think it was Smells Like Teen Spirit, actually. But she had that on her playlist along with Heart Shaped Box, which really shocked me. With the music they listen to nowadays, that cracked her list was crazy.
Yeah. So maybe, for the younger listeners, put it in the comments. Let us know, again, sort of what you're listening to and how things are a little bit different. I've got a 13-year-old son, and he likes the pop, the popular Nevermind type songs, Heart Shaped Box, like any of the things that nothing that is too far out there, I guess, if you will, right? So it'd be interesting to know what, some of the younger music fans that have discovered Nirvana, how they got into the band, what songs they really enjoy. And I'd love to hear the feedback from them where they say, hey, you guys should listen to this song and this song that we haven't talked about today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know Amy's going to be happy that this podcast is over because I've been playing Nirvana around the house for about a week. I was like, which song do you like better? She's like, neither.
Yeah.
And then Smells Like Teen Spirit comes on and it's like, oh yeah, I know that one. That one's good. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's really good.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed going back and reintroducing myself to this catalog because there's a lot of stuff on here that I either never used to listen to a whole lot or that I've just forgotten about. And they've got a lot of, I think, Gordo, you said at one point, really for a band that's got, 4 songs or 4 albums, not counting the live stuff and unplugged stuff. You're talking about, Bleach, Nevermind, Incesticide, which is really outtakes from stuff that never made any of their other albums. Mm-hmm. In Utero. And then there's, the odd release that kind of happened after that with the Nirvana compilation and, with the Lights Out, stuff like that. But really, it doesn't seem like it's that vast of a catalog, yet there are very few shitty songs, at least in my eyes, which made it absolutely brutally difficult to try and pick 20.
Absolutely. They don't have a lot of filler, especially after Bleach. It's really a testimony to how good they were, really, come up with that many good songs that sounded that different. And frankly, on some of it didn't seem like they cared if anyone really liked them or not either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sake of time on the podcast, talking about the top 10 was great. But I think in the notes, I'm going to post 20. I'll post the top 20 because they're all really good songs.
Great idea.
Or you just post everybody's top 20.
Oh yeah, we could do that too.
You could do that. It doesn't matter to me. So
yeah, we can do that too. Should we say the list?
I think listening to a list of 20 is boring, but
audio can be deleted.
Okay. Say it.
I'll be deleting a lot of the audio that you provided.
I'm going to get less airplay than fucking Cecil. Jesus Christ.
You might.
So that wraps up the Nirvana episode on Picks and Sticks. Be sure to subscribe either through Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, anywhere else that you get your favorite podcasts. Thanks very much for listening. Tell all your friends. And until next time, see ya.